Hi there, everybody. Cecile here with Get Mental Podcast. How are you guys doing? I just want to be a little short and sweet and to the point this afternoon. I know there's a lot of stuff going on again, as if we can, if we think we've reached the worst of it all, especially in America, it's really, it's more stuff keeps happening. It's amazing how much more bad news, we've come to accustomed to. So anyway, this is what's inspired our show today. Thank you guys for watching. Basically, my theory on the pandemic and everything that's going on is that really it's essentially going to be a mental game, a mental and spiritual game, survival of the most flexible and adaptive, because there are a lot of things that this is throwing at us that we were never prepared for. So I wanted to give you guys, as always, some hope and inspiration and real food for thought. I want to start with winner's mentality and research that was done in Japan, I think in the early 2000s. They surveyed some people, thousands of people, to basically figure out, what the characteristics are that they may have in common. And so the things that they found are these 8 things, okay? The first quality is leadership. They found that that was the top quality that survivors had in this study. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You need a sense of leadership if you are to try to get through anything hard or challenging in your life, right? And when you think of leaders, you think of people who have a take charge mentality. You think of people who have a sense of agency about their life, right? The second characteristic is the ability to problem solve. And I cannot stress this enough, especially as a therapist. We do a lot of problem solving all day long. But one of the things I really help the people I support is how to be able to do that in times of stress. Because what happens is when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, our bodies really tense up and contract. And that also affects the blood flow in our brain. And then it also kicks in the kind of fight or flight system in our brain, and it can make things really scary and small. So one of the fascinating things for me that they found in the study is that the people who tend to survive horrific, catastrophic things really have a sense of, have this skill pretty strengthened in them, the skill to be able to problem solve, think outside the box, think on your feet, right? Because when you're in a crisis, you don't have time to plan and sit there and strategize. You have to be able to think fast and act fast. So that's one of the things that I think, to me really makes sense. The other thing is altruism. So altruism is basically when somebody is has a strong sense of humanity, has a lot of compassion and empathy, and tends to not put their needs first. So it's not being codependent, it's not being, unhealthy in that way, but more like, you have a good sense of self, but you're also self-sacrificing. So see people, so for example, Bill Gates is what comes to mind, right? Like he's got a ton of wealth, but he's also very altruistic, and he's using his wealth to advance the world and solve problems, and just help humanity. So that's kind of a big example of altruism. But, just think about like ways in which you've chosen to give, right, to other people or to other causes. That's a form of altruism. So again, this is one of those things that can help people. I'm not really sure how it helps people survive, to be honest with you, but that was fascinating again for me, that was one of the characteristics that they found. The other thing, this one's one of my favorites because I can personally relate to this, is stubbornness. Okay, stubbornness was one of the top 8 qualities they found. And to me, stubbornness is just this determination, this relentless determination to keep going, to keep, pursuing or sticking to what you've committed to do, right? And again, if you think about really tenacious, resilient people, they just don't quit. They're not quitters. Okay, so this is another way to think about a winner's mentality. And I'm going to break it down a little further too as the talk goes on. The fifth characteristic is etiquette. And etiquette, again, is one of those things I don't know why and how it does really help somebody survive something. But etiquette, you know, is really if someone's good-mannered, they're gracious, they are respectful of other people. I guess I can see that, like, you know, you might end up being more likable. So if people need to escape, maybe they'll be more favorable of kind of letting you out first. I don't know. But that was an interesting characteristic. The sixth characteristic is emotional regulation. And again, for me as a therapist, that makes perfect sense. So emotional regulation is basically our ability to self-soothe, our ability to, hold on a second. Ethan, can you please wait? I'm almost done, okay, buddy? Thank you. Or you can ask Daddy. Sorry about that. Real life. So he wants ice cream, and I'm basically trying to not give him too much sugar. So that's that. So emotional regulation is our ability to calm ourselves down, to self-regulate when things are really stressful, especially when there are a lot of unknowns, you know. So an extreme flip side of that is somebody who tends to be anxious and panics a lot, right? You can see why that would be, you know, not very helpful, especially in times of crises. You want somebody calm, you want somebody who's able to still think clearly regardless of the threat. So again, that makes sense to me, especially, you know, like just to use the example of the current situation with the pandemic. We all have kind of a collective heightened fear about, you know, what's happening. And the people who are usually coping better are the people who have a more kind of balanced, stable way of regulating themselves. So just something to think about, guys. The two more. The seventh characteristic is self-transcendence. Ooh, sounds very, I don't know, hocus pocus. But to me, what that means is your ability to transcend, you know, and overcome hardships, right? And of course, you know, it's some of this is personality based, by the way, but the good news is a lot of these characteristics I'm talking about can be cultivated, can be practiced, and can be learned, you know. So transcendence is one of those that can be, believe it or not. The name of my practice, for some of you who may not know, is Transcend Therapy. And the reason I called it that is because I do believe that innately within us, we have the capacity to survive, to thrive, to overcome, to triumph, given the right conditions and given the right supports. So, you know, leaders, winners, survivor mentality, people who have a strong survivor mentality have a strong sense of self-transcendence. The last thing that they found is actually called well-being, active well-being. And so what that means is somebody who has good self-care, right? You're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. And so when you have a strong foundation in that way, that can protect you during times of stress or crises, because we need our body, we need our health to be able to withstand really stressful things. And guess what happens when we're not taking care of ourselves? What is kind of the one thing that we all end up getting? We all end up getting sick in some way, shape, or form, right? Because our bodies can only take and absorb so much. So part of a winner's mentality is that they understand, you know, the function and purpose of the body, and they make sure that they take care of the body because it's the basic vehicle in which we overcome everything else, right? The mind-body connection, you know? So I'm gonna just recap. Leadership, problem solving, altruism, which is a sense of self-sacrifice, stubbornness or determination, etiquette, meaning good-mannered, respectful, your ability to emotionally regulate, self-transcendence, meaning your belief that you can transcend hard things and painful things, and active well-being, which is how you take care of yourself. So you guys, if you are struggling with this, just start with one. Just start with, go through the list and go, okay, which one do I think I can work on? Because we all could use some work on one of these. Like for me, it'll probably be, I don't know, my etiquette. When I'm really stressed out, I'm not always the nicest person, and I can be pretty vulgar, not vulgar, but pretty honest with how I feel about things. So I could work on that, right? But not to simplify it, okay? The reason we're talking about winner's mentality is because this is the key ingredient to win at life. And by winning, I'm not talking about, the ego. I'm not talking about competing with other people and getting all the accolades. No, I'm talking about feeling good about your life, feeling hopeful, feeling steady, feeling stable, even when things may not be going your way, having a foundation of love and hope. That's what I'm talking about. And actually, part of the research I did before this talk is this guy who was a Survivor, the show Survivor, and Ethan somebody, and basically he got diagnosed with cancer, and he actually talked a great deal in this interview about how his winner's mentality helped him cope with something so scary and destabilizing and life-threatening for him. So, that's just kind of again, an extreme example of how these things can really help us. But this mentality can help us in our day-to-day life, not just in the big pursuits that we're trying to accomplish, but in the everyday, because there's usually at least one thing that doesn't go our way in a day, right? And it's how we move through that. It's our ability to cope with that really can make or break the quality of our day. That's how powerful the mind is and the stories we create around the events that happen to us. So it gives you an edge when you have a winner's mentality. And these are some practical ways to cultivate a winner's mentality. And if you're stuck, because, I specialize in trauma, I know that when you have a lot of pain, abuse, trauma that has happened in the past, it's harder to really embody a winner's mentality. It's easy to intellectualize it, but you're not just going to get it from reading a book or listening to me talk about it. It's a process. These are just kind of educational seeds I'm planting in you guys. But the whole process of really strengthening this and making this a way of life, it takes a team. You need a community to help you with this, but that's part of the winner's mentality, is that you have the desire to do it, you commit to doing it, and you stay on it. You stay on it, you stay on it, you stay on it, So we got to get creative, especially right now with COVID. There's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of whatever else, for me personally as a parent, dealing with online learning. So that's, kind of creating some stress, but the stress is not necessarily the problem, right? It's how we cope with it. It's how we deal with it. I mean, who do you know who doesn't have stress? Nobody that I know doesn't just have a stress-free life. Like, stress is actually a normal part of life. So again, when I think about it that way, that's an example of a winner's mentality, because I'm already expecting it to be hard, which, by the way, is one of the other characteristics, not researched, but a staple characteristic in a lot of successful people, is that they have proper expectations about what's happening and what lies ahead. Because that's half of the battle. If you know the ride's going to be bumpy, right? That allows you to mentally, emotionally prepare for it already, So that's the other thing. The big thing that I want to leave you guys with, as it relates to the psychology behind this, is the self-talk. Okay, so we all have self-talk. Some of our self-talk is positive and affirming, and some of our self-talk is not, and it's degrading, damaging, and dysfunctional. So winner's mentality, a lot of people who are winning at life and feel good about themselves have a positive self-talk, have a positive regard for themselves. And in therapy, that's one of the main things we help people with, is to change their self-talk so that it's more accurate and healthy and true. So an example of a negative self-talk is I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, right? That's kind of the common thing I run into all the time. Although it might feel true to you, the fact is it isn't true, because you have the United Nations, affirming your worthiness from the day you were born, right? Like, you don't have to do anything. You already are worthy, but it's your belief that you're not, right? A positive self-talk is, I'm capable. I can handle this. I can handle failure. I can handle when things don't go my way. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to make mistakes. I'm good enough. I don't have to be perfect, right? People love me. I have people who love me. I don't have to be liked by everybody. It's okay if other people don't find me attractive, Like, that's one of the things I help the ladies with when they're dating, because dating, as you know, is usually very ripe for blows to our self-esteem. But again, it's because of the self-talk, right? So just listen to all the words I just said as far as the positive self-talk. I'm capable. I can handle it. I'm worthy. It's okay if not everybody likes me. It's okay if not everybody finds me attractive. I can handle it when things don't go my way. It's okay to make mistakes. I can ask for help. Isn't that already like affirming? It already gives you confidence. That's how powerful the self-talk is, And this is just a little kind of taste of what it could be for you if you were really having a proper practice in cultivating this in your life, okay? Again, T and I, we're just giving you seeds, we're just helping you plant seeds. Like, we can't fix everything through these talks, but hopefully it's giving you guys some real good information, inspiration, and motivating you to take charge of your life and know that, you're not alone. You don't have to learn these things alone. As a matter of fact, you can't. We all need support and each, expertise from each other. So just, if you're struggling with this and you're really feeling like, I'm not living my full potential, I just know I could be better. Things could be better. Trust that voice, and, give yourself the gift of support and knowledge, because that's where it starts. And just take a chance on yourself. You are probably a lot more talented and gifted than you're giving yourself credit for. It's, it's the self-talk that gets in the way, right? And the social comparison that is so easy to do, especially on social media. So these are some of the things we can help you with. We hope that you found this talk helpful and valuable, and it's never too late to cultivate these traits. You can learn it, you can cultivate it, you can practice it, and you can, be happier and healthier. Okay, you guys? So that's it for today. Transformation Tuesday. As always, thank you so much for listening. Melissa, Sherna, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And as always, be well, be gentle, get mental, because we all have issues. Issues in our tissues, as my old yoga teacher used to say. But yes, truly, I appreciate the time and the feedback. And until next time, see you guys.